It's like Christmas every day.
Are you mismanaging or pissing away very valuable relationships?
They sell everything to us and they won't buy our corn.
I won't bullshit you, so don't bullshit me. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, welcome to the Axios Show.
Nice to be here with you.
This is the first time you've let a camera into your real office. My grandma Powers would call this the inner sanctum. What's special about this room to you?
The room has such amazing history, right? Built in 1931 as the largest building in the world, 2 million square feet, a mile if you walk around the outside, right? So this room was Hoover's office, and he went from this office to the Oval Office. That's like pretty cool, and it's got great history, great paintings. I mean, it feels the power of what commerce is like in America. I love the office. It feels great.
You're doing a lot of those laps yourself to the Oval.
It's 7 minutes from here to the Oval Office. You go out the door, right, left, and there's a bunch of security. That's what makes it slower, but I can be in his office in 7 minutes if I hustle.
That's better than clear.
It's better than clear.
Now, how often does that happen that the president says, Howard, get over here?
I think he doesn't really say get over. He just calls me and starts talking. And then I just walk out, get in my car, talk to him on the way, and then walk in. And I say, then a couple of times I've said, if you look up, it's more efficient. And he looks at me and says, oh, you're here. Because if it's a topic that's not a quick answer, I want to just go over and talk to him about it.
Secretary, you worked for 41 years in Manhattan. Same firm, Cantor Fitzgerald. You started as a bond broker, became president, CEO, chairman. So you haven't had a boss in 34 years. What's it like to have a boss?
Well, it's completely different. That's what I will tell you. And, you have to listen and you have to react. And so instead of being the one who creates the agenda and the objectives, you listen to him create the objectives and the agenda. You help him shape it. So I'm not afraid to talk to him about where he might consider adding or expanding his agenda. But once he sets it, it's actually kind of easy. You just execute his plan. And so there's less stress on you when you're executing his plan. And so it's kind of fun. It is different. And I really don't want him to be unhappy with me because I don't like that at all.
But it's more fun to be the boss.
Well, not when it's the most important person in the world. I have to say, it's so cool to work for him. I mean, to get the President of the United States to just call you at night, he calls me 11 o'clock at night just to chat. I mean, it's still cool. It'll be cool in 3.5 years. I think it'll be cool forever.
So, Secretary, I want to have a real conversation. I'm going to be blunt. I hope you'll be blunt. I won't bullshit you, so don't bullshit me. Fair?
Sounds fine.
So, Secretary, you have a rare lens on power. You're a Wall Street mogul. Now you're a member of the president's cabinet. What's the biggest difference in the way power is exercised in New York and in Washington?
So when you're building your company, you build it around people that you know your whole career, your whole life. Very rarely do you add an outsider to that list. And when you've really built a business. And so here, it all gets put together in November after the election. So I ran transition. So how you put those pieces together for the president with people who he's going to trust and people he can rely upon. It's an incredibly...
And no duds.
It's an incredibly different thing, right? I mean, who puts together the whole administration effectively in 30 days? Whereas in your business life, these are people who you've relied upon forever. And I think that's the biggest difference. And what's amazing about it is how extraordinary the cabinet is. That he picked right, and I helped him pick right. But it's something I'm really, really proud of.
There's lots of people around here who think they're friends with the president. You actually are. You've been friends with the president for 30-some years. Secretary, where did you first meet President Trump?
I just met him in the New York, I think the New York charity circuit. Mm-hmm. In New York, if you're someone of means, you get honored. And the honor is to raise money for the charity. And
Congratulations.
You get a piece of lucite at the end that says, congratulations, you were the man of the raising us money, right? And then you host the charity party, and then you're the dinner chairman the next year, and you're always raising money. So you're always calling everyone you know and having them come to the dinner, right, and raise money for that charity. And so I saw Donald Trump at these charity parties wearing black tie, twice a week. I mean, you'd go twice a week, all winter long. So we'd see him all the time. And every once in a while at the end, since I was single and at the time he was single, we would just go out together. And we just did that. There was never a plan. It was just, let's go out. And so we became friends, decades and decades ago for no agenda, for no reason. We just were friends because we met on the charity circuit.
Now, because of that, you have a sixth sense for how the president thinks, how the president works. You've done 1 million deals. What makes President Trump a unique deal maker?
Well, first off, he's one of the sharpest deal makers I've ever met, ever. That's before coming into the White House. And then when you take that personality, who's one of the toughest, best deal makers ever, and you put him behind the resolute desk with the power of the United States of America sort of looming over his shoulder, and then he's looming over your shoulder, it makes my ability to negotiate so much better because all that power is behind me by Donald Trump and the United States economy. And the United States consumer is the envy of the world. The world needs to sell to us. Our economy is $30 trillion. I mean, so if you're not selling to us, there's no alternative. So you have Donald Trump, the best deal maker that I know, because he just feels it. He has intuition. He probably, if I had to say his best superpower, is his intuition. He is the most intuitive, thoughtful. He just understands the room and can read the room, and his instincts are amazing. And that makes him an extraordinary deal maker.
What's a moment or an instance where you saw the president reading the room?
So we had the Japanese, right? So the Japanese trade team is in the Oval Office, and he decides, okay, I'm going to be the closer.
An audible.
Right? So he's the closer. So we're sitting on this side of, on this side of the desk is me, the trade minister, you have Marco Rubio, you have Scott Bessent, right? And you have all these trade guys from Japan. And the president's on the other side of the desk, and he's got this chart, and he's marking up the chart, and he's literally negotiating the terms. And then the next meeting, this meeting's lasting a little longer than you thought. The next meeting is with Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, and he's got a couple of House members with him. And the president sees him and says, come on in, you got to watch this. And so he brings in, the leadership of the House.
A deal as performance art.
The deal as performance art. And that puts so much pressure on the Japanese. It was like you could feel the weight of the room triple on the guy's shoulders, right? Because he has the leadership of the Congress in the room watching this negotiation take place, and this guy has to get a deal done, and the president is just pushing him. And it was literally a masterclass of both negotiating and the art of negotiating. By bringing these people in, it changed the room. You can feel the power of the president rise, and that's hard to do because he is darn powerful just at the beginning.
Spoiler, the president got the deal.
He did. So I had negotiated, and the way it works, there are people who set up the president, right? That's what your job is. So he calls me his table setter. My job is to set the table, right? Now, he's also said I'm the best table setter he's ever had. Well, maybe I'm the most successful table setter he's ever had, be setting the table. But basically what I do is I negotiate all the terms of the deal, and then I try to get the absolute best deal I can. I'm not one of these guys who leaves, some money on the table so the boss can look good. That's bull, right? I push it as hard as I possibly can.
The real deal.
And I tell the president, look, I can't get this any further. And we're really good with this deal. And if this is the furthest they'll go, I suggest we do the deal. And he laughs. He goes, yeah, well, let's see how I do. So I had it at $400 billion. He gets it to $550 billion. And I want to be clear, there's no possibility I could have gotten it to 550.
And that 500 billion is an investment fund for Japan to invest in the American industrial heartland. How does that work?
Well, what's amazing about it is normally when you say a foreign country is investing in America, that's their companies, right? Like Mercedes opening a plant in America. It's classically foreign direct.
But this is
investment.
money the president can spend.
And this is completely different. This is Japan saying, we will make our balance sheet available to you, Mr. President, for you to invest in America in the national and economic security investments that you think are important. So they're going to build nuclear at scale. We're going to do the Alaska LNG pipeline that you've all talked about. Now we can invest $100 billion to really explode that and make it extraordinary for America. We can build generic antibiotics because right now we are beholden to the Chinese who have dominated the business. What they do is they sell it for half.
And it's 550 billion is the exact
amount. 550 billion, and here's how it works. We split the money until they get their money back. So when they get their $550 billion back, the United States American taxpayer has made $550 billion. And thereafter, 90-10 for the benefit of America.
I bet you
and
worked.
That was what the deal had.
I suppose you worked hard for that 50 billion.
Definitely.
I was out on the campaign trail with you in 2024. On the campaign trail, you and President Trump promised a golden age. Map the golden age. What's the plan?
So the plan is that we exported the ability to produce everything. You know, Americans are so...
And this is over decades, many presidents.
Americans are brilliant. We invented the light bulb, we invented the transistor, we invented the GPUs. I mean, we are always the inventor, the innovator. We create the drugs, and we've allowed the rest of the world to manufacture everything. And so in 1985, we owned America, and Americans and all of us, we owned more of the rest of the world, $150 billion of the rest of the world net than they owned of us. And today the rest of the world owns 26 trillion more of America than we own of them. So we are being sold out from beneath us, where our jobs are being taken from us. There's almost 7 million work-capable Americans unwilling to go work because the jobs are just not the right jobs for them. We blew out shop class. You know, when I was young, and maybe you were young, we took shop.
I was not particularly good.
And the guy, you know, one of my friends who really loved shop class, he runs the biggest landscaping company on Long Island, right? Because he wants to be outside, he wants to work with his hands. And somewhere along the line, about 20 years ago, some geniuses of America decided, everybody should go to a liberal arts college. And so what? They all end up with debt. They all end up doing things they didn't want to do. Where are those jobs? We are going to bring them back. And here's the key. You needed technology and AI to be able to do it so that we can have the plants here that can do advanced manufacturing. And the golden age means that Americans who want to be trained technically can go to high school and have a great job. You can go to college, you can have a great job. We are going to have the best employment opportunities for Americans. They're going to make more money, they're going to be more productive, and they're going to be happier because the opportunities will be available for them. And that's our definition of the golden age. Balancing our budget, having the world's most successful economy on the strongest footing, solving all the choke points like building antibiotics in America to protect ourselves, and employing all our people in the right kind of jobs with great jobs, whether they went to college or not, having the ability to have a great life, take care of your family. And that is the definition of Donald Trump's golden age, and I'm here to fight for it every day.
So that's the plan, but the reality is that the economic bricks, hiring, inflation, how people feel, are piling up on the wrong side of the scale. Inflation.
Oh, I think they're piling up on the right side, actually.
Wait, you want inflation in August ticking up to 4.3%, the highest since 21? Manufacturing activity shrank in August, 6 months running, unemployed workers exceeding job openings. If Biden had numbers like that, you'd be on Fox saying, what's going on?
So the economy that Donald Trump owns starts at the end of this year. You can't
doesn't
get
work that way.
Well, wait.
January
You
20th
can't
was day one.
build factories and get permits and begin in an hour. You just can't. And the scale by which these companies are committed to building factories in America is unprecedented. So the jobs are coming, the factories are coming. We know the cavalry is coming. You know it. You can hear the thunder of the hooves coming. And anybody who worries today is worried incorrectly, looking in the wrong direction, right? We have earned $500 billion a year in tariff revenues. Do you know what we'd have to have done to our people to raise taxes for $500 billion? You'll see inflation is going to come down going forward because tariffs are not inflationary. A one-time tick up on certain products is not inflation. It's a one-time tick up in certain products. And we are going to be reducing prices going forward. The president just signed EOs that give us the ability to lower coffee and cocoa, to start doing the trade deals and driving these prices down. Letting Donald Trump execute his plan is the greatest thing America will have because it will drive the golden age for us.
So the cavalry is coming, but lots of Americans, including lots of Trump voters, aren't feeling it. What do you say to that?
Look at the energy prices. Energy prices are coming down. And when we build that LNG plant, they will come down further and further still. And that's money in their pocket. Tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That's money in their pocket, right? And then the president has been clear. Interest rates need to come down. Let's get the cost of housing down and get mortgages cheaper and get money in the hands of Americans. If Donald Trump can deliver on his promises, which he plans to do, he is delivering. As he delivers, these people will have more money in their pocket, they'll be happier, the factories will be built, and employment will be smashing down. And the employment is coming down, grabbing the 6.9 million work-capable Americans and getting them back in the workforce. That's something no one talks about. Bringing these people back into the workforce is going to create a power for the American economy that they have never seen. And I'm so excited because it's going to happen in his term. This is not a long-term gig. This is, we are going to execute this now over the next year, 18 months. It's coming. You can hear the hooves coming. Those factories are going to be built at scale. Just think of the Japanese $550 billion. That's 250,000 jobs in his hands. He's going to build nuclear. He's going to build LNG. Who's building these things? Americans.
So you have a runway, 18 months to 40 months is how much you have left in the term. But you know how to think like a CEO. You know how to think quarter by quarter. And we talk to Republican senators. We talk to Republican congressmen, members of Congress, who face re-election at the midterms, November 26th. They say Republicans have an inflation problem, have an economy problem. Do you hear that?
It can't be true. What was our last quarter GDP? 3%. I think it's going to be 3% the rest of this year. Best growth in the U.S. economy. Best growth in the U.S. economy since when? Since Donald Trump was the president. And then as these factories get built. Remember, you don't have to wait for the factory to come online. The construction workers count as gross domestic production. So as these factories get built, these trillions and trillions of dollars of factories get built, that's going to take our GDP above 4%. And when you have the $30 trillion American economy growing above 4%, that is power. And that's Donald Trump's power.
Secretary, I understand the president is looking closely at prescription drug prices. What are you and the president considering doing in that area?
Well, the president is very focused on MFN. Why is it that we pay such a high price?
That's
and then
most
all
favored
these
nation.
Most favored nation. So what happens is Americans pay a high price for drugs, and then the rest of the world pays barely above marginal cost. You know, let's say it costs $10 to make a pill. You know, the other countries say, oh, I'll give you $15. And we're paying $100. You know, and our insurance companies, just the costs in America are insane. So he's saying, look, if we can get the rest of the world to pay more, we can pay less. and it works out fine.
So in Axios fashion, what would you watch for? What are you going to do? Or what is the president consider?
The president's going to say that you drug manufacturers cannot sell here unless you sell there at a higher price. Stop being willing to sell to them at such a low price.
How soon do you expect that to happen?
I think that's a this year thing. I mean, he's on it now. And if he drives down these prices, I mean, that's $1 trillion of expense to the U.S. economy, both to the government in Medicaid and Medicare, and to the individual people of our country. And so who would take this on? I mean, this has been a problem for 30 years. Why is it that the president, Donald Trump, takes it on? It's because he's got the guts to take it on, and he understands it. That's why I said it. That's his instinct. That's his intuition to say, why do we pay so much more for drugs? And then as he learns it, he says, all right, let's go change it. And that is what's amazing about working at this administration. Taking on the most difficult problems that have been sort of sitting there, staring us in the face for 30 years. Finally, someone's willing to take it on for the American people. And that's why I'm so proud to work for him, because he's tough. Imagine getting in the room with all these pharmaceutical guys. I mean, they're great American companies, but they sell for $1,000 here and $200 overseas. Come on, that's got to change. Let's get them all to $500, and we're all better off.
So he's going to be tough with those companies.
Oh boy, is he going to be tough?
What do you mean by that?
Means if whatever you're imagining how tough he's going to be, it's going to be factors higher than that. He is going to get it done. And he was talking to me about it this weekend, meaning driving down the cost of domestic prices of pharmaceutical drugs, not generic drugs. Right. These are the branded drugs. You know, your cancer drug. I had cancer. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the drug price that I paid. I mean, look, you want to buy it because it saves your life, but the price of it is so much higher than the rest of the world pays. Why? Same drug, it should be fair. It should be the same price across the world. We all have the same price. Americans' prices will be lower, probably by half or more. And the president was talking about this all day on Saturday. All day on Saturday, he was talking about we got to drive these prices down. I mean, that's what Donald Trump does. He's on these topics, hard and strong.
And what pushed that to the top of his agenda?
Oh, I don't know. I just get the phone calls.
Well, but he gets, I have a boss, when he gets hopped up about something, I usually know why. Like, what precipitated this Saturday conversation?
I just got the call from Bobby Kennedy. I got a call from Mehmet Oz and said, okay, let's get to work on this.
So they're mobilizing. They're mobilizing across the administration.
He just wants it done sooner, right? They're on it already. But when is it going to come? And he is a relentless leader to get the job done, and it's impressive.
And so,
I'll tell you what, it's impressive.
You think we're going to hear about this within weeks? Weeks, not months.
I do.
Americans' credit card debt is at a record high, $1 trillion. What's your message to Americans saddled with credit card debt?
We have got to get interest rates down, and we've got to get the method by which the credit card companies charge them interest lower, right?
And how does the administration do that?
Well, it'll be probably one of his next two things. You know, he always talks about having interest rates be lower. That's for sure.
Right. No question.
And then I think he'll turn to credit card debt as the spread, as something that matters. So interest rates lower, the spread on credit card debt lower, and then let's get these technical jobs. Let's get technical training, vocational training. Let's get these people trained. Let's get them better jobs. Let's build great factories with advanced manufacturing in America. And let's get these people great jobs, and they'll be able to earn their way to satisfy their credit card debt. And that's the model. Create the golden age of America so that Americans succeed and prosper.
So, Secretary, this is your wheelhouse. What can the administration do on credit card debt, on the credit card rates?
Well, I think we're going to study the credit card rates, and we're going to examine how to bring them down, right? They are very, very high.
But you're looking at ways that administration can affect.
Absolutely. That's a smart thing for the administration to consider, of course.
A record share of student loan debt is delinquent. A quarter of student borrowers are behind. What does that tell you, and what can you do about it?
Well, the Biden administration, by telling all the student loan borrowers that they don't have to pay it back and giving them sort of don't pay it back, created
but
sort of
today-
this. But I mean, come on, these people were told not to pay it back. Now you got to get them to start paying it back. That's hard work. I mean, it's just hard work. You had a weird, strange, trying to buy the election by saying to every student, oh, don't worry about it, you don't have to pay it back. Who did he think was going to pay
So you
that
think
bill?
that-
You, me, and every other American with a job should pay the bill? Why is that fair? Why is that reasonable? It wasn't.
So you think this
they
is a
gotta pay it
choice
back?
by the borrowers as opposed to being financially strapped?
I think what happened is the Biden administration created such a weird thing by allowing these people to not pay and giving them sort of a pause, or they thought they were going to get it free forever, that getting everyone back to paying, I think, is harder and slower than people imagine. But I think, the objective for us is jobs and prosperity for Americans, solves most issues. And those are the tools, the most positive American tools that we could possibly have.
During the campaign, you and Elon Musk talked about slashing government waste, cutting costs. What's your current thinking about DOGE now that Elon Musk is gone from the White House?
I thought Elon got caught up in other people's objectives, right? I mean, the people who work at the government, fine. The government, I'm sure, could be 10% smaller. I'm sure it could be 15% smaller. And let the cabinet secretaries go in, study their place, and make the proper cuts.
So he was hasty and overbearing.
Well, I wouldn't say hasty and overbearing. His Twitter example, where he was able to cut 80% of the people out, right? He thought that example worked for government. And my view was that the real money of government is the spending and the waste, fraud, and abuse of government. I mean, think about this building. The Biden crowd before me had sent $7.4 billion to some brand new make-believe not-for-profit to give out money. $7.4 billion should be wired out of the Department of Commerce to this thing called NatCast, which didn't exist, which was made up as some not-for-profit, staffed with all these Biden officials, and then trying to get $7.4 billion out. That's what I call waste, fraud, and abuse. We ended it. We kept it in the government. But, that's how you make big money. You know how many people would equal $7.4 billion? Come on. The focus should have been on cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse, and the people you could do over time. I thought he got that backward. I talked to him a lot about it. And, waste, fraud, and abuse, DOGE is still pursuing that waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think it will be effective, less effective than I would have hoped. But I think it's still going to be effective in cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse.
I'm sure the president shares this view since you're saying it here. So you're saying that there's going to be more of a focus on cutting dollars as opposed to cutting government workers.
I think so.
And that starts now, or that will be the plan going forward?
That's certainly been the plan in this building. There are, of course, when you walk into a building like this, and there's 50,000 people who work here, and you say, okay, let's go look. And some of these projects are 30 years old. 30 years old, and technology hasn't changed them and modified them. Like you saw, like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? There are people calling around. Really? How about like technology using it? So using technology, automating the government. I mean, we will, of course, have cuts, but you could be smarter and more efficient, and that's not where the money's going to come from. The money's going to come from deep efficiency of understanding where we're spending the money. Why does the Department of Commerce fly planes that were first developed in 1957 with propellers, right? Why do they try to fly them through hurricanes? Why don't we have drones that would cost less than 1/10 of the price, maybe 1/25 of the price, and you have no risk?
So that's something you're going to do, or you're looking at?
Oh, we're definitely going to do it. I turned down buying the planes. They came to me with $350 million to buy planes. And I said, show me a picture of the plane. And I was like, when was this plane new? And they said, no, sir, you're getting a new plane. I go, no, I know I'm buying a new one. I'm saying, when was the first one rolled off the assembly line? 1957. We were going to buy a 2025 new version of a 1957. So, of course, I canceled that. And what we're going to buy instead, right, are unmanned aerial drones. Big. They look like, sort of half-size plane. Right. And they can fly into the hurricane. They can stay in the hurricane for 3 hours. And God forbid they make a mistake and it crashes. I lose a couple of $1 million drone. I don't lose, right, a $150 million plane with people on it. I mean, it's smarter, it's safer, and the amount of data we collect is like hundreds of times better. And I think that's what technology is going to give this government. Hundreds of times better at probably a 50th or 25th of the price.
Tariffs. The president said it's his favorite word, the most beautiful word. You've been called the tariff deal maker in chief. Your boss calls you the table setter in chief. You've gone through this blitz of deal making around the world. Why did some countries lose and some countries win?
Well, I think the countries that understood that a giant trade deficit with the United States of America is just wrong, right? And they have to embrace the fact that it's just wrong. That when we learned when we went to college was that in economics class, if you always run a trade deficit, right? We print dollars and we keep giving these other country dollars and we buy their wine and we buy their cars and we buy their everything. We buy their stuff. Sooner or later, they're not going to want our dollars. We learned in college. But instead, we are so smart in America that we never devalue. So you know what they did with those dollars? They're buying America back from underneath us. And so Donald Trump says, I want to stop that. China has a $1.2 trillion, $1 trillion of sales, export-driven economy that they're taking advantage of us. We are funding them with our dollars. And so his objective is, let's stop that. So the countries who understood it, who came to the table with an open mind, like you saw Europe, right? Madam President Ursula von der Leyen, she said, we understood this trade deficit was unsustainable and needed to be fixed, and we came to the table to try to make a fair deal to fix it for us both. And those were the countries that won, and the countries that just sort of tapped us along, said they were making a deal, they'd come back in 3 weeks or a month, and then we'd do other deals in between, right? And
Such as?
Such as India. You remember the president was talking about doing a deal with India right after we did the UK deal. And we sort of had a deal done with them. But they kept coming back 3-4 weeks later, and I kept saying, by 2 weeks from Friday, this deal's got to get done. And think of the train leaving the station. You can't come 3 weeks later with your bags packed, saying, I'm ready to get on the train, when the train left 2 weeks ago. Since then, we've done Vietnam, we've done so many countries. And what happens to the president, if he's made other deals with other countries, he's not that interested in doing the UK deal 6 months later.
But India is a good example. So an important ally, Canada, Brazil, these are all very important allies. Are you mismanaging or pissing away very valuable relationships?
The relationship is one way. They sell to us and take advantage of us. They block us from their economy, and they sell to us while we are wide open for them to come in and take advantage. The president says fair and reciprocal trade. Why?
But you're paying a big price, though, with those particular allies.
How are we paying a big price? We can't. India brags that they have 1.4 billion people. Why won't their 1.4 billion people buy 1 bushel of U.S. corn? Doesn't that rub you the wrong way? That they sell everything to us and they won't buy our corn? They put tariffs on everything. So the president says, bring down your tariffs. Treat us the way we treat you. Now, we've got to right years of wrong, so we want a tariff going the other way until we fix this, right? That's the president's model, and you either accept it or you're going to have a tough time doing business with the world's greatest consumer, the American.
Secretary, you don't think it's going to happen, but the Supreme Court could well strike down the president's Liberation Day tariffs. And I recognize that you say the president has a lot of other authorities and tools he can use. But if the Supreme Court voids those tariffs, the signal to the world will be that the president overstepped.
So if you go and look at the dissent, right, it was 7-4 in the lower court. The 4 who sided with the president, Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, the incoming Chief Justice.
So you don't think it's going to happen?
And the smartest guy on the bench. If you go read that dissent, you will see that is the proper answer. These were left-wing and non-tariff people, and the people who think sided with the president. I think the president wins either 5-4 or 6-3 because the foreign policy of the United States of America and the ability to fix this emergency needs to be in the hands of the gentleman in the Oval Office, and that is vital for America. It would just pull the rug out from America, and that would be something the Supreme Court is just not going to do.
All right, in the very unlikely event that you're wrong, what is the contingency plan? You'd have to refund these tariffs? How the hell does that work?
To think about silly things is a waste of time. The Supreme Court is
Well,
going to stick
contingency
with
plans
it, and we
isn't
have
silly.
lots of other authorities that we can use to put them in place. We will use other authorities to put them in place, and I just want to point out, all of the deals that I've done, the Japan deal, the Europe deal, they are focused on something called a 232, a different kind of tariff. Those have been already tested by other courts. They're already durable, and those are not going anywhere. So all those big deals that we did that are centered upon those products, those are durable, sustainable, and they are not really what I expect to be even benefited or not benefited by the Supreme Court. But I am supremely confident the Supreme Court will side with him. And that's the right way to say it. Supremely confident in the Supreme Court. I like it. That was good. It was very punny.
I talked to businesses all over the country who are worried about the costs that are going to flow from tariffs. What do you say to consumers, especially small businesses, worried about tariffs hurting them?
So if you study price and tariffs, you would see that.
But this is the same thing. It's hard to tell someone that they're wrong. They're hurting, and you're telling them they're wrong.
They're not. Inflation has not gone up. Price has not gone up. Energy prices are down. Costs are down. It is not, yes, inflation went from 2.6 to 2.7. That's not a thing, okay? The way tariffs really work is a 10% tariff is eaten by the manufacturers. It is. That is just economic study. At 15%, I would say some of it is passed through, 3 or 4% is passed through, but most countries in the world are 10 and 15%, and there are many products that are going to have a zero tariff because they're things that we don't grow. And that's the way, now this has to flow through the system. The president just signed the executive order giving us the authority when we make deals to waive tariffs on coffee and cocoa and bananas and mangoes and pineapples and other things we don't grow. You have to remember, he's changed the world's trading tariff system in 7 months. It's the most incredible thing ever. And as that embeds, you're going to see prices are not going to rise. There's not going to be inflation. Remember, inflation is the perception that they keep going up. A one-time change is not inflation. And American production has zero tariff. And you're going to see it all come here. Jobs, 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 production, production, production. And then prices coming smashing down as they build in America. I am really excited for the back half of Donald Trump's administration as he delivers on all these factories being built. The economic growth of America is going to be impressive.
The administration has made some deals that have surprised some people. You took a stake in Intel. You had the golden share arrangement with U.S. Steel. You're taking a cut of NVIDIA chip sales to China. Why are you taking that approach? Well,
let's do Intel for a minute. So the Biden administration gave GAVE $11 billion to Intel, a $110 billion company. Why are we giving a company, giving them $11 billion? It's like Christmas every day. So what we said is stop. You can have the money, But America should have equity in exchange for that. Why are we giving corporate handouts? It makes no sense. So we basically turned that $11 billion gift into an $11 billion acquisition of equity. Nippon Steel wanted to buy U.S. Steel. They made 12 promises in order to buy the company. Once they buy the company, how do I know they're going to live up to their 12 promises? I won't close any of my blast furnaces. I'll keep the employment level at X. So they buy the company. What if they renege on those two? What are we going to do about it? So we said, here's an idea. We'll have a golden share. You know what the golden share said? You promised us these 12 things. Our board member only can speak about these 12. But if you don't live up to those 12, our board member takes control of the board and executes what? Just those 12. They're in a box. They're just those 12. And those were the things that they promised. So for President Trump, he says, make their promises stick and I'll let them buy it.
Right. So you're making the argument for the hand of government. People call it command capitalism. Do you expect more deals like that?
It's not command capitalism. It's fair to America if you're giving away the money. Why? If we never gave Intel any money, I don't want a stake in Intel. But if I'm going to give them, my predecessor gave them, signed contracts to give them $11 billion. My job is to make a better deal for the American taxpayer. So I think if we're going to give people money, here's my example. If we're going to give scientists NIH grants, give them money. If I give them $50 million, the US government gives someone $50 million, and let's say they invent a drug, a patented drug, and it's worth $50 million. Just wait a second. And it's worth $50 million. So it's break even. Why did they make the 50 and we lost 50? We should get our money back and participate.
I get the case.
It's fair, 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 fair. And if you don't like the case, then you're spending $2 trillion deficit, and President Trump's going to say, if we give away the money, we're going to get something for it. Fair is who Donald Trump is.
If that's the model, who's next? What other types of deals like this can you see?
I think universities who are getting all this money. The scientists get the patents. The universities get the patents. And the funder of $50 billion, the US government, you know what we get? Zero. It's time that we should, don't you think we should get, if we, in business, if I gave them half the money, if I gave them 100% of their money, I would get half the profits with the scientists. So I think if we fund it and they invent a patent, the United States of America taxpayer should get half the benefit. Half the benefit. And then what will happen is our Social Security system will be paid for. And we won't be a broke country running $2 trillion deficits because we're the richest country in the world. We're just dopey. Do you realize we give away between $200 and $300 billion a year in grants?
No, the IP in these universities is incredibly valuable. My nephew Evan has studied that and actually does AI work with it. How quickly do you see implementing that? The U.S. getting half the benefit, every university across the country, or this is deal by deal?
If we give them money, the value that they create with that money
so there'll be
should be
shared. A blanket formula?
Yeah.
Or how do you see it?
A blanket formula. It makes sense. It's fair. If we're paying for the research, if we're paying for the lab, if it's our money, the American taxpayers' money, the American taxpayer should be a partner in the upside. We're happy the scientist makes money. We're happy the university makes money. But why isn't the American taxpayer at the table?
No,
why is the American taxpayer just the foolish payer while these scientists make money, the universities make money, and America gets a big fat goose egg? It just feels wrong. And after I've just said it, I think everyone who's watching this is going to think, well, that's wrong. America should participate. How do we not get our money back? That's insane.
That's super interesting. How quickly do you expect to move on this, and how hard will you fight on it?
I think I'm going to I sent a letter to Harvard last week. I'm going to send letters to the California system this week.
Any university that gets federal money should be expecting a letter.
And I think we should get a deal done with the leading universities that says this is fair. And I think the president's going to drive that type. I've been talking to the president about. We've been exactly talking about this. That seems fair to us.
But is it
We
a
get
master
half.
deal or a template, or it's university by university?
I think it'll be a few universities to start, and then it'll become a master deal.
I hear you use AI a ton. How do you, as Secretary of Commerce, personally rely on AI?
Well, I use it when I'm doing these trade deals to find statistics about all these different countries. So on the weekend,
on the fly.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. So on the weekend, when I'm studying up for my meeting on Monday, instead of having 100 people looking up every statistic, I could just ask Grok or ChatGPT, tell me about the goods deficit of country A.
And you do
How
this
much
on your
do they do of
phone,
this?
or how do you do this?
Yeah, I have a government phone and a government laptop, and I use my government phone and laptop to, just give me good stats so I can give these kind of stats to you.
A lot of Americans are existentially worried about the effect of AI on jobs, particularly entry-level, white-collar jobs. Are they right?
No, they should be psyched. Advanced manufacturing coming back to America will create so much opportunity. Technical jobs, right? Right now, the iPhone is made in China because there's 1 million workers who are technically doing the work, okay? The 1 million workers technically doing the work. iPhone says they're going to move it also to India. Why? Because there's 1 million workers who could technically do the work. When a robotic arm, and you've seen like a modern auto plant, right? There's lots of automation, but there's 3,000 technicians working there, right? As we get those robotic automation, edge AI, these jobs are going to be able to come to America, and that is what is being built here. And those are going to be tens of thousands, going to hundreds of thousands, going to ultimately 5 million American jobs.
So ultimately, yes, in the short term, there could be a lot of transition pain. What can the administration do to ease the pain of that transition?
I think we're going to train. We need to train people for these jobs. I mean, the jobs are coming, the opportunities there. The productivity for us is so good. Remember, China's got the 1.4 billion people. India's got the 1.4 billion people. We have our 340 million people. Our 340 million people are smart. They are the entrepreneurs of the world. They are the inventors. They are the powerful people. We need to be smarter. We need to be more technologically advanced. We're going to use the AI tools to bring back manufacturing to America, and that is going to employ so many people in America and make them so much more productive that it is Americans who are going to win. When we win the AI race, it is Americans who are going to win.
How specifically mapped out is this workforce transition plan? Where, when, who runs it, who pays, how many workers can you help?
So our objective is 5 million workers, because they're going to be needed to build and operate these factories that are coming. You can't build more than 10 trillion of factories and you've got to have the workforce. Where are you going to get that workforce? You're going to get it from vocational schools. You're going to get it from community colleges. You're going to get it from universities. Donald Trump negotiating with Harvard, right? Remember this $500 million? He's negotiating with Harvard that they spend that $500 million and build Harvard vocational school training. I mean, think of it, he's not trying to get the money for the U.S. government. He's trying to get the really smart people at Harvard to turn their attention to training the American workforce. And then we're going to extend that model across the United States. 5 million jobs, we need to train them, but it's going to be high schools back again, vocational schools, community colleges, local colleges and universities. Train these people for the great jobs. Remember, starting technical jobs at these factories, 75 grand. No college education needed, 6 months of training, 75 grand. Up from there into the multi-hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is why Donald Trump knows he can deliver the golden age.
Are there any points that the AI doomers, the doomsayers, make that you agree with or think are worthy of considering?
Oh, I am very much afraid that our adversaries will win the AI race and if they get there before us, right? I can't imagine, it's a dark day indeed if our adversaries get the lead here. Now, we are smarter. We have the lead. All the GPUs are invented by us, designed by us, so we have the ball. But we need to win, and that's why we're focused on it, focused on building chips in America. Right now, they're all built in Taiwan, which, by the way, is 80 miles from China and 9,500 miles from us. So we want to build them in America. And that's one of those things we're deeply focused on, driving chip production to America. But we need to win the AI race.
Your second favorite word, your probably favorite phrase after tariffs, you've been a big booster of the Trump card, the Trump gold card that makes it possible for foreigners to get visa status. I'm told this is coming very soon. How soon?
Very soon, next couple of weeks.
And what got you so hopped up about this idea?
So America gives out 281,000 green cards a year. The average American earns $75,000 a year. The average green card holder, $66,000. Why are we discretionarily bringing in people who lower the average, their bottom quartile? Makes no sense. So let's switch it to be like every other country in the world. Let's pick top quartile. So Donald Trump says, with respect to the green card, we will sell it for $1 million. And if you can pay $1 million, then it won't be some long, detailed process. We'll vet you. And if you pass vetting, DHS will vet you. If you pass vetting, you can have a green card. You'll pay $1 million towards the American deficit. That's the gold card. And then the Trump card will be slightly different. It will say...
It's $5 million, right?
$5 million. And you're an international person. And you currently pay income tax on your U.S. income, but you don't pay income tax on your global income. Remember, you and I, we pay income tax on our global income. And if you get a green card, you pay income tax on your global income. This will allow foreigners, if they want to pay $5 million, they can come and work in America, live in America, come back and forth to and from America. They pay $5 million. And if we sell 200,000 of them, and I am confident I am going to bring in 200,000 of the most successful people in the world who want to be able to come and go from America. And if they give us $5 million, that earns the U.S. government $1 trillion. And you know what our debt is then? 36 to 35.
And how many do you sell at $2 million?
Well, $2 million, so the $2 million is for the corporate card. It's a gold card, meaning you pay global tax, right. But that way Apple can buy 100 of them.
But how many do you think you'll sell?
I think I'll sell more than 100,000.
A lot of Trump voters thought that they were voting to end immigration. How does the Trump card square with that?
Oh, easily. It's less, right? You're not going to sell 281,000. Right now, we give away 281,000 to people who average $66,000 in income and are more likely to be on the dole of the American taxpayer. So we're going to sell far less. Imagine if we sell 100,000. We've knocked 181,000 people from coming into the country, and we've made $10 billion.
The ICE raid at the EV battery plant in Georgia has some manufacturers worried. Of course, a big part of the president's agenda was trying to convince foreign companies to make direct investment in the United States. Is this a new risk they face?
Well, it was kind of silly, right? We like that Hyundai's building a plant. That's great, right? They should get the proper visa for their workers. Come on, get a work visa. What they did is they came in on tourist visas, and then they're just working in this plant. I mean, so Hyundai, who's a total grown-up, more than capable of getting them the proper visa, should have gotten them the proper visa. So it's just wrong of them to have gotten the wrong, they should have gotten the right visas. You can't, ICE has got to do its job, right? And if there are all these people who are in this country on the wrong visa, change it. But the fact is, they'll fix that. Hyundai will fix it, and they'll do it right. But come on, get the right visa. Come on, Hyundai. Just do the right process. You knew better than that.
But does ICE doing their job make your job harder to get the foreign investment?
No. I called up the Koreans. I said, give me a break. Get the right visa. And if you're having problems getting the right visa, call me. I'll call Kristi Noem. We'll help you get the right visa. But don't do it the wrong way. You can't do things the old way. Donald Trump requires you to do it correctly. You want to immigrate, you want to bring workers here, go through the right process. You can't skirt the rules anymore. That is over.
When did you first learn about crypto, and what is crypto's future?
So 2017, I started learning about it. 2020, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency said that banks and custodians could hold crypto assets. Now, Gary Gensler, soon after, killed that by saying, oh, but if you hold it, you have to set aside your own capital. But I started learning about it. And what I understood is that it's really, really interesting for people because it's a commodity, okay? It's not a currency. People who call Bitcoin a currency are wrong. It's like oil.
Are you in
it's
crypto
like
yourself?
Gold. I was. I'm now in nothing. When this job, I sell everything, and I've sold everything, and basically.
When you're back, will you invest in crypto?
Well, in 3.5 years, I'm going to worry about things then. Right now, I'm just worried about America, and all I've got is my money in treasuries, and I'll worry about America.
But you had crypto before.
I have. I like Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin-only guy. I was a Bitcoin-only guy.
The New Yorker described your late-night chats with the president, often at 1 a.m. Really?
He can call me when he wants. I don't really go to sleep between maybe 1:30ish. So he knows if he calls me. He jokes. He says, if I call anybody else this late, first thing I hear is the phone bouncing on the floor, and then they go, hello. He goes, when I call you, you say, hey, what's up? And when we talk that late at night, we just chat. Okay, there's no objective. We're not like deep into something. We're just talking about the day, talking about tomorrow, talking about golf, talking about sports. We're just having a nice conversation amongst friends.
And sometimes he's got Fox on, you've got Fox on?
Oh yeah, we're watching TV, we're watching golf together, we're watching stuff. Sure.
What's
all
that?
the time.
What's that like?
It's kind of fun. He goes, you see that shot? I'm like, oh man, we're just friends talking, right? And we do it all the time, and it's really nice.
This is 1 a.m?
12, 1, whenever he wants to call. But I'll text him, are you awake? And then 20 minutes later he calls me.
You up?
Exactly. No, he doesn't say you up. Because I say, hey, how are you? I'm awake. I don't go to bed before 1:30 in the morning. So he knows I don't go to bed between 1.
And when does he go to bed?
I think later than 2.
Now you show up at the West Wing a lot, sometimes unscheduled. How much of your sway with the president is those informal settings versus the formal policy process?
I think he respects me as a businessman and as a friend who's smart, who's not afraid to tell him the truth. And what happens to lots of people is the president says he'd like to do X, Y, Z. The president needs as much information as you could possibly give him. And if X, Y, Z, he should have understand the letter W was important for this. So it was W, X, Y, Z.
But with this president, there is a real...
talk to him and tell him that and make sure he knows that.
Right.
And that's what I do. And I do it without fear. And I do it without worry because he needs to have as much information as he can have. And once he has that information, he makes good decisions. He's an incredible decision maker, but I help him make those decisions because I just give him more information and then he makes the decision.
And with this president, there is incredible currency in proximity, right? Like in being there.
I think that's true for everybody except for the auto pen of the last guy. But come on. If you're talking to the president and you have his ear and he's listening to your point of view, then that's really fun. And you have to be really on it, and you have to really know your stuff because he will shred you if you say something that's wrong. So you have to know your stuff, and you really have to be helpful. But that's my job, is to be helpful, and that's everybody's job. And the president loves to have lots of voices talking. He loves that. That's why he brings people in the room, because he loves lots of voices, and it's fun to be one of those voices.
Secretary, as we get out of here, the golden age that you charted, sketched is here. The beautiful tariffs are all in place. The revenue is flowing in. Is your work done? How long are you here?
I'm here for the next 3.5 years. I'm here for the 4 years, for sure.
You've got 40 months in you?
Easy. Oh, I'm an energetic person. These things don't bother me. Imagine we have the $550 billion that we just got from the Japanese to invest. We have to invest. We have the balance of making sure all the tariff deals are strong and durable and lasting, right? We have the gold card to sell. So many things to do and so much fun to do it.
You turned a youthful 64 this summer. When the president's back at Mar-a-Lago, What are you going to be up to? You're clearly going back to New York.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing next. You know, people ask me, what are you doing next? I'd say I have 3.5 years of the most exciting, most exhilarating, most important job of my life. I'm focused on that. In 3.5 years, you're going to ask me what's next.
Okay.
Between now and then, I'm going to focus on my job and do an extraordinary job.
Okay, forget your job. You don't need to work anyway. What's on your bucket list?
I mean, this is the bucket list. It's strange. I didn't know this was on my bucket list. Like, I had no idea. But I got to tell you, spending time with the President of the United States, whether it's playing golf with him, being with him in the Oval Office, designing, you know, he talks to me about designing the new ballroom. I mean, this is the most fun you could ever have.
Who's the better golfer?
He is. He's great. Jeez, I'm like a 10, and he's great. He's a great golfer. You know, I took a picture of him having a swing, you know, his swing on his phone, and his like follow-throughs like that. And yesterday, someone said, how is he as a golfer? I showed them a picture of his swing, and they went, Jesus. I go, that guy's a good golfer. Seriously good golfer. And they saw him, like everybody saw him when he was with Bryson DeChambeau, and they watched him swing and hit the heck out of the ball. That guy's a better golfer than me.
Secretary Lutnick, thank you for welcoming the Axios Show into your lair.
I had fun. It was fun to do it together.
Thank you, Secretary. Appreciate you.
Thank you.